What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we got some big news to cover. This is monumental news. Now, it's stuff that we pretty much already assumed, but to have it confirmed and to hear the details of it is pretty eye-opening, I must say. I was not aware of this until Data Racer sent me a private message about this, so thank you, Data Racer117. Go follow Data Racer at Data Racer117. Bob Iger's autobiography came out today, and he says George Lucas doesn't like Disney Star Wars. And this is quote, George Lucas didn't like The Force Awakens and didn't like we ignored his ideas for the sequel trilogy. Iger tries to blame George for not appreciating our hard work. Total hit piece. Whew! Let's get into this one right here. On George seeing The Force Awakens for the first time, just prior to the global release, Kathy screened The Force Awakens for George. He didn't hide his disappointment. He said there's nothing new, he said. In each of the films in the original trilogy, it was important to him to present new worlds, new stories, new characters, and new technologies. In this one, he said there weren't enough visual or technical leaps forward. He wasn't wrong, but he also wasn't appreciating the pressure we were under to give art and fans a film that felt quintessentially Star Wars. Are you kidding me, Bob Iger? You're telling me George Lucas doesn't understand and appreciate the pressures that comes with a Star Wars film? Are you out of your mind? Are you absolutely out of your mind? Holy crap. What a bad take. He wasn't appreciating the pressure we were under. This has got to be a troll. We'd intentionally created a world that was visually and tonally connected to the earlier films to not stray too far from what people loved and expected. And George was criticizing us for the very thing we were trying to do. Wow. Bob Iger. Total idiot. Looking back with a perspective of several years and a few more Star Wars films, I believe JJ achieved the near impossible, creating a perfect bridge between what had been and what was to come. I mean, again, I like The Force Awakens, so I'm not here to try to act like I didn't. But when George Lucas is sitting here telling you what you didn't do right, you should listen. Or maybe you should listen from the beginning, and you maybe should have done his sequel trilogy outline. I know, crazy idea, right? And here we go. On George sending his outlines for the sequel trilogy. At some point in the process, George told me that he had completed outlines for the 3 new movies. He agreed to send us 3 copies of outlines, one for me, one for Alan Braverman, and one for Alan Horn, who had just been hired to run our studio. Alan Horn and I read George's outlines and decided we needed to buy them, though we made it clear in the purchase agreement that we would not be contractually obligated to adhere to the plot lines he laid out. On George's new role of creative authority, he knew that I was going to stand firm on the question of creative control, but it wasn't an easy thing for him to accept. So he reluctantly agreed to be available to consult with us at our request. I promised that we would be open to his ideas. This was not a hard promise to make. Of course, we would be open to George Lucas's ideas, but like the outlines, we would be under no obligation. Don't make it sound like, of course, you would be open to George Lucas's ideas, because you had his ideas, you had the sequel trilogy outline, and you threw it away so you could give us these new garbage characters. Don't act like that you're like, oh yeah, we respect George. Shut up, Bob Iger. That is pathetic. You are I can't believe that Bob Iger is outing himself like this. Like, Bob Iger's outing himself. Amazing. On revealing to George they weren't following his plot outlines. Early on, Kathy brought JJ and Michael Arndt up to Northern California to meet with George at his ranch and talk about their ideas for the film. George immediately got upset as they began to describe the plot, and it dawned on him that we weren't using one of the stories he submitted during the negotiations. The truth was, Kathy, JJ, Allen, and I had discussed the direction in which the saga would go. This is the social justice discussion, by the way. This is the social justice part. This is where they said, we need more identity politics. We need more representation. We need to push a social narrative. And at that point, they looked at George's story and they were like, George's story doesn't have a lot of social justice. George's story isn't pushing the narrative. George's story is not going to make all of the conservatives look bad. We can't have this. That's the meeting that they had. Because it wasn't about the story. It was about the agenda within the story. And George's didn't have their agenda. And it probably had too many prominent white males in it. And that probably upset them. Unbelievable. George knew we weren't contractually bound to anything. But we thought that our buying the story treatments was a tacit promise that we'd follow them. And he was disappointed that his story was being discarded. I'd been so careful since our first conversation not to mislead him in any way. And I didn't think I had now. But I could have handled it better. I should have prepared him for our meeting with JJ and Michael and told him about our conversations, that we felt it was better to go in another direction. I could have talked through, I guess that's probably wrapped that part up. So, okay. I could have talked through this with him and possibly avoided angering him by not surprising him. Now, in the first meeting with him about the future of Star Wars, George felt betrayed, and while this process would never have been easy for him, we'd gotten off to an unnecessarily rocky start. Wow. Major bomb dropped by Bob Iger. They are admitting that they're admitting that George Lucas feels betrayed, and if George Lucas feels betrayed, then I'm going to side with George Lucas. You betrayed George Lucas. You didn't go with a sequel trilogy outline when you had it. You had gold in your hands, and now I've said, as a prequel defender, as a George Lucas defender, he's not the greatest with the execution, but his stories are never the problem. It's the execution of the story when George is involved. So you had his story. And JJ would have been a great director to execute George's story. But, as you say right here, and as I'm going to assume this is the part where the social justice aspect came into it, and you felt that there wasn't enough representation. We don't have enough diversity. We need to send a social message. There's too many white prominent men in this story. We can't have that. That's exactly what happened right there. Because you know the Force's female was in there, and she was all about, there's too many white dudes in this story. There's too many straight white dudes in this story. We need female representation. That's what that meeting was about. Wow. And I hate this line right here. That's not a hard promise to make. Of course we would be open to George Lucas's ideas. Clearly you weren't. Clearly you're not. Because you had his ideas. And you decided to move on from them. It's great to hear that George Lucas is fed up with the new direction of Star Wars. It makes me feel better than I've ever felt about my position with these movies. And I think officially we can say George Lucas is now a member of the fandom menace. How about that? How about that? George Lucas, member of the fandom menace. If only we could get an interview with George Lucas. I'm putting an open call out to the great George Lucas. George, I am a lifelong Star Wars fan, and I am an absolute prequel defender. I will criticize you when I feel you need it, when I talk about the execution of the stories, but it doesn't matter. I still love the prequels. I love the prequel era, and I appreciate everything you've ever done for Star Wars and for Hollywood and for the entertainment industry as a whole. You have inspired generations on top of generations of filmmakers and actors, and you have inspired people across the globe to a level that few have ever inspired, and I respect you so very much. So if you ever wanted to come on to Geeks and Gamers for an interview, I would be more than thrilled, and anything that it would take for me to make that happen, I would absolutely do it. I'm very outspoken about what Disney has done to Star Wars. I was very, very supportive of Disney in the early stages. I liked The Force Awakens. I was very much in favor of it. I was very much in support of Kathleen Kennedy and Disney. I'm an annual pass holder at Walt Disney World. I like Disney. I've always been a supporter of Disney. But what they have done to Star Wars and how they have used your creation, the thing that you created, the thing that you fought to create, all of the struggles you went through to make this happen, and you changed the world with your creation. And they have simply taken it and turned it into a platform to push their own real world politics. And it is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So even if you never see this message, and even if I never get a chance to talk to you, George, I just want to thank you for everything that you have done for me and for so many others. With that said, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Have a great day, and we will talk to you later.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.